Make sure that you are using the cheat sheet that you can download from the math website at nicoleandmath.weebly.com. It's under chapter 4 cheat sheet graphing. And between that sheet and this tutorial, sections 4.2 and 4.3 should be pretty easy, and I will add 4.4 at a later time. You will often use XY charts for solving for the equations of a line or solving for other points on a line in this chapter. For simply solving the y component of a point, use the formula given, which is normally in the y equals mx plus b format. Plug in your x value if you decided to substitute numbers in for x, and solve for y. In this example, I am given the equation y equals 3x plus 1. I simply want to find 2 points on that line so that I can plot it. All I do is create an XY chart, and under x I put one value of 0 in and one value of 1 in, substitute those in separately. For 0, I get a y value of 1. For 1, I get a y value of 4. As you can see here, we are given the equation y equals negative x and just asked to find 2 points. Use an XY chart. I chose 1 and 2 for my x values, and accordingly I get negative 1 and negative 2, so that I get the points 1, negative 1, and 2, negative 2. In this example, we are doing the exact same thing, although I'm not showing an XY chart. Y equals x simply tells you that whatever value you put in for x, y is the same value. So if x equals 1, y equals 1. If x equals 2, y equals 2, and so on and so forth. The very same thing is being done here, although it looks a little bit different with a longer equation. You have the y equals mx plus b form. We're just looking to find 2 points. Create an XY chart and solve accordingly. As always, it is important to very carefully read the instructions and read the question. In this case, you are being asked to find the y-intercept and x-intercept. Now we know that the y-intercept is where x equals 0 and the x-intercept is where y equals 0. So for the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x and solve for y. For the x-intercept, you put 0 in for y and solve for the x value. In this example here, once again, we would simply use an XY chart and solve for the unknown value. It is important to note in this particular problem that there is no y value at all. It is simply negative 2x equals 0. So we know that the only way that negative 2 times any number can equal 0 is if x equals 0. Knowing this, we know that since y is not accounted for at all, it is not defined, then we simply pick 2 points where x equals 0 and y can equal any number. because the actual solution would be all real numbers for y, but always 0 for x. In this example, we want to get the equation to the y equals mx plus b form. First, we have a common factor among all three terms, which is 4, so we're going to divide 4 out of it, leaving us with x plus y equals 3. We want to get y alone to get the y equals mx plus b form, so we subtract x from both sides. We wind up with y equals negative x plus 3. This tells us that we have a negative 1 for slope, and 0, 3 is our y-intercept. Remember, b is your y-intercept in the y equals mx plus b formula. Once again, we're going to try to take this equation in this example and get it to y equals mx plus b form, because that's most useful for us, at least in this chapter. So we would try to get y by itself. In this case, 3 is a common factor among all three, so we can divide 3 out of all of them, and we'll still be left with y by itself then. Once we do that, and then move the x over, or what would be 2x after we divide 3 out of it, we will have y equals negative 2x plus 7. We know in our y equals mx plus b form that m is right before the x, which is the negative 2. That is our slope. And our y-intercept is, or b is, the y equals mx plus b. So our slope is negative 2, and our y-intercept is 0, 7. Keep in mind, in some of these problems there will be more than one step, and they may have you only plot one point. Pay attention to what it's asking you to do. Read the directions. In this case, all it is telling you to do is graph the intercept at 0, 7. Since we know what our intercept is, being at 0, 7, we're able to plot that first point. We also know what the slope is. We know the slope is negative, so we know that it is going to fall from left to right. When reading it, we always read our slope from left to right. If it goes up, it's positive. If it goes down, it's negative. We know that we have a slope of negative 2. Remember, it's rise over run, y over x. So our slope is represented in a fraction as negative 2 over 1, which means we're going to go down 2 and over 1 to the right. We go right because we always read the slope left to right. So a slope of negative 2 would mean to find another point. The closest one, the easiest, would be down 2 and over 1 to the right. And you can see that in this example. In this kind of problem, it's really simple. They're giving us our y-intercept because x is already set to 0 in the first point that they give us, 0, 5. So we know that's our y-intercept, and they're giving us the slope. All we need to do is put that information into the y equals mx plus b form. So we put 4 in for slope, which is right in front of the x. We have y equals 4x plus 5, because 5 is the y component of the y-intercept. So the answer is simply y equals 4x plus 5. Since we know all of this information, we can graph the intercept at 0, 5, and then using the slope of 4, We know that the slope, when put to us as rise over run, is 4 over 1. For every 1 over in the x-axis, it is going to go up 4 in the y-axis. So the slope of 4 tells us that go from the original point, go over 1 and up 4, plot another point, and that point is also on the line. And that is all we need here. Okay, this example is similar to the one we saw where there was only an x component and no y component, except this time there's no x component and only a y component. Y equals 3 simply means that for all values in x, y must equal 3. So we can have points such as 0, 3, negative 17, 3, 2, 3. They're all going to have 3 for the y component. So we also know that if it's always going to be y equals 3, that the line is horizontal, and that gives us a slope of 0. Here is what that line looks like when it's actually graphed. Just a horizontal line. You can see the arrows on both ends of those lines mean it goes on, or means that it goes on forever. It's not a line segment. So we have y equals 3, x equals all real numbers, which is represented by the arrows on that line. It's all numbers in x. Here's another example of where there's only an x or a y component, but not both. X equals negative 1. This means that no matter what, x is always going to equal negative 1. Y can be any real number. So we know for one that x is going to be a vertical line. It's going to go up and down. And we know that a vertical line has an undefined slope. It is not a slope of 0. It is undefined. Once again, this is what that line will look like where x equals negative 1 and there is no y component. Okay, here's a slightly new topic. In this example, they're going to give us 2 sets of points. And all we need to do first is find the slope. And that is simple enough. We use the m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the slope formula. You substitute in, make sure to label your points first so that you don't get them rearranged halfway through. In this case, I have m equals negative 3 minus negative 4 over negative 2 minus 6. And we wind up with m equals negative 1/8, or slope equals negative 1/8. And that's all they're looking for here. Okay, on this example, this is another one of the really simple ones where literally we just need to take the information given to us and put it into the y equals mx plus b format. We know that for b in the y equals mx plus b, we have negative 5 because the x value is 0. And we know for the y-intercept that x must equal 0. And we know that the slope is 4/3. So we literally just write it as y equals 4/3 x minus 5. Alright, in this example, they are literally just asking for the information at first that the y equals mx plus b form gives us. And by looking at it, we know that 2/3 is the slope, because 2/3 is where m should be, right? And we know that the y-intercept is 0, 2, because we have a 2 where the b would be. In this example, Hawks has already plotted our y-intercept for us, which is 0, 2, and they're telling us using the slope and only using the slope, give us another point so that we can plot the line, so we can graph that line. We know the slope is 2/3, 2 over 3, rise over run. It's y over x. So with a slope of 2/3, it's positive, so we know it's going to be going up. We read it left to right, so a slope of 2/3 means that we go over 3 and up 2. Rise over run. 2 over 3. Over 3 and up 2. Okay, in this example, there's an extra step, and nothing difficult, but all we're really doing is we're trying to figure out the slope. So we're going to get the information provided to us by Hawks into the y equals mx plus b form. You're going to solve for y. That's all you're going to do. And then when you're finished writing it, you're going to have y equals, and then it will be in the mx plus b form. And once we get to that point, we find out that our slope is 2/3. Okay, another really simple one. Easy. They've already done all the work for us here. All you have to do is interpret it. We have y equals 3x plus 4. We should be beginning to recognize that this is in the y equals mx plus b form. And take a good look at it. We know that slope is going to be 3 because it's y equals 3x. And we know our y-intercept is going to be 0, 4 because we have y equals 3x plus 4. We know that's our y-intercept. Okay, in this one, we are simply taking the information given and putting it into the y equals mx plus b form. Once again, they give us the slope and they give us a point, which we happen to recognize that the x is 0, so the y value is the y-intercept. We have 0, 6 for the y-intercept, and we literally just rewrite it as y equals 2/5 x plus 6. Okay, same thing here. Same as the last one. They're giving us the information. We have m equals 4/3, and we have 0, -5 as a point. We know that's our y-intercept, so we know we can just put it directly into y equals mx plus b form, and we have y equals 4/3 x minus 5.